Hey, amazing beings. This episode is for you if you are in any way putting yourself out there. You're speaking something, you're sharing your voice, you're sharing your gifts, you are leading a team, you are making videos, you have something to say, or you even think you have something to say, you're running groups, anything like that. This was made for you to encourage you to tell parts of your story so you can connect with your audience and have more impact, and why and how that is so important and possible. Enjoy. This is the Leading with Love podcast. We're gathered here to open our hearts, expand our souls, live fully in our gifts, and co-create the world we want to see. Let's dive right in. I love it every time. Welcome back. My name is Shauna. I'm so grateful you're here. Thank you for being here. This is the Leading with Love podcast. I'm excited to get into this today because I'm just fresh off a week of being on other people's podcasts and a speaker in other people's groups and things like that. And so I've had just this whirlwind of being on other people's shows versus having guests on my show. And there's something that I've been learning after all the interviews or conversations that I have had in both ways that is really important. So if you have a podcast, if you interview people, even if you just do your own videos and you're sharing them on YouTube or some social media somewhere, what keeps coming up and goes so far beyond breaking the ice in a conversation is vulnerability, authenticity. And I want you to stay with me here because I have seen this now play out in the most beautiful of ways. So I'm going to use an example of a group that I was in where I was a guest speaker. And so she came on and we had a few minutes to chat beforehand. And I have now seen kind of the gamut of some people are very regimented about it being an interview and the questions that they're going to ask you, and they'll give it to you beforehand. And others will just let it flow because once you know what you know, you can speak it. Right? It comes out of you like water, and you don't need your notes anymore so much because the key points in your stories and who you are and how you show up just comes naturally to you, and you are listening to the other person. And that's kind of the point I want to share here. It's a bit of a two-pronged point. So in this particular case, we had a little conversation beforehand because she did have some questions prepared, and she is accustomed to just interviewing people. So the way she put it is she wants to showcase her guests, and she doesn't really want to speak, but she has this group of, I can't even remember, it's like 1,500 or 2,000 people in her sphere of influence in this particular group. And she has a very beautiful mission, and her life experience has brought her to a place where she wants to help people go through successfully what she has gone through and be vital and healthy, and because it has to do with a health issue. And so, of course, we know that thriving and feeling that vitality is so much more than just addressing that one issue, right? All the things we talk about here on the Leading with Love podcast and elsewhere, and so many people are talking about now, is bringing all of you online, doing the healing work, loving yourself, getting to presence with meditation, being in nature, connecting back in with your purpose. There are so many ways to bring yourself that nourishment that then will help with anything physical you are experiencing. So to cut back to the chase of the beginning of my conversation with her before she hit record and we went live, I asked her, I said, I know that you are the host and I will do this however you want, but are you open to having a conversation and letting it flow wherever it wants to flow versus just asking me questions and just me speaking and you not really contributing much to the conversation at all? I don't mind the showcase. I love it. It's beautiful. And I will always try and bring the best transmission possible and the most encouragement and motivation and beautiful energy possible. But it's so much better when it flows. And the reason I'm sharing this example is because she said yes. So what happened, what unfolded on this interview was so beautiful. She was crying at the end of it. And when we had our sort of breakdown conversation at the end, the debrief, she was so grateful because here's what happened. I was able to bring my presence to her as a host and ask her some questions back as it flowed, versus just me speaking and answering her questions and kind of being on autopilot where I'm sharing information that I have to bring to the group, but she's just sitting there listening. So as we got to know each other on this conversation, and I had read up on, of course, I was prepared. I had read up on what she's up to in the world and what she's been through. I asked her some questions back, as I said, and the most beautiful thing happened. She started to open up and blossom and talk about why she's doing what she's doing, why she started this group, the challenges and pain she had gone through with this particular really challenging health issue herself, and why she now feels so purposeful in sharing solutions with others because she understands where they have been. And it brought her so much depth and the authenticity of the voice with which she was speaking to her audience, and us being able to just talk back and forth about the challenges. And it brought in other conversations and other topics that she wouldn't have had she just been asking me questions. We talked about motherhood, and we talked about community, and we talked about impact in other ways, and how to take care of ourselves and nourish ourselves, and just things that we wouldn't have otherwise been diving into if it had just been me answering her questions. And at the end, when she stopped recording, like I said, we had this debrief, and she said, wow, that was amazing. The way we were sparking off of each other, it was so incredible. And I said, I know it was. It was so beautiful. I'm so grateful. Thank you for saying yes to doing it that way, because I know from what I just saw in you, your audience, your people are going to get so much more from this conversation, because they're going to see your heart, and they're going to know why you're up to what you're up to. And that means they're going to listen to you more, one hopes, at least some of them. They may feel more inspired because their hearts were touched to actually do some of the things that she talks about, because she has a lot of alphabet letters at the end of her name. She has a lot of experience. She is really brilliant at what she does. And I loved it so much. And I wanted to share that because I just got off a podcast just now where we had one of those conversations. And I did one yesterday where they were just asking questions, and they weren't really open to it being not regimented, which is fine. It was also beautiful. But there's something about the vulnerability and the authenticity of your voice that shows up when you are willing to get a little bit into your own story, because people can identify with you. Your heart touches theirs when you share the challenges you have been through. I can't bring this kind of love to you and this kind of vibration to you without having been to very dark places, without doing massive inner work, without doing very painful healing for years. I can't be this without that. I can't be a voice of love or light or inspiration in this world without having gone through the fire myself, to bring that light forward, to have it in myself, to find it in myself, to shine it in myself, and then bring to you, hopefully, whatever wisdom has come from my journey that might touch your heart and inspire you to continue and step up on your journey. So all of this is just a call and an invitation, as usual. Whether you're doing this in a business setting, you're leading a team, you have, like we've said, responsibilities for a community, or just your family, or just your own heart, and you're speaking it on videos, you're speaking it on social, bring your true self as much as you can to your work, to your play, to your interactions, to what you speak with your beautiful, inimitable voice. And it will land far more than if you had any pretense as to who you were trying to be that wasn't your truest, most beautiful, authentic self. I think that's it for today. I think what wanted to come through came through. So I send you love as always, and gratitude again for being here. And I will talk to you next time. Wherever you are and whatever you're doing, I hope you enjoyed this episode and it helped you open your heart, feel inspired, and know that we are all connected. Please subscribe and share so this work can touch more people. This is how we co-create the world we want to live in. Thank you so much again for joining us, and talk to you next time.